Welcome to the Bonus XP podcast, a podcast where every fortnight, three friends gather around the internet campfire and each bring forward a news item or topic from the gaming world for all of us to discuss. I'm your host, Luke Morgan. Joining me this week are my bearded boys, Conan.
Hola.
And Griner.
Evening.
Before we get into it, let's spend a bit of time talking about a game that we all played a bit of or finished this past week. Do you guys have a few minutes to talk about this?
Not 12.
Not
only
12
10
minutes?
Only
Okay.
10 until a reveal
Only
later in the
10.
game.
Oh,
Right.
is that? Okay, that makes more sense.
12 minutes is a game that came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's on Games Pass. And yeah, I don't know. It seems to be a very controversial game.
Should we talk about why this game is interesting in the first place? Like why this is even on our radar?
Yeah. Okay. You go.
So I think we all came across it at E3. Basically, it was presented as this it looks like a cool story game. And the thing about it is it's voiced by, James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley,
and Willem
and
Dafoe.
of course, Willem Dafoe. And of course, who doesn't want to play a game with voice acting by Willem Dafoe? So
It's a goblin himself.
It's a great cast. For the game. Is it a well-acted game?
Yeah, but you'd never notice, would you?
Yeah. The whole time I'm like, this would be so much better with like a good voice actor, because a good voice actor is different to an actor. Like get Nolan North or someone in there to voice like the main dude, and it's probably better voice acting.
I think it's a lot of it comes across pretty stilted, because I think the way they actually use the dialogue, it's like sometimes just abrupt. People repeat stuff, and it's just, I think it's a lot to do with the writing as well. You know, like spoilers, but you'll reveal this like a massive thing, like, oh, by the way, we're in a time loop, like breaking all what you know about the universe. I know you killed your dad, blah blah blah, this many years ago, and you're like, okay, well, I better believe you then. I guess you're right. Like you knew what that present was. Well, it's weird. Like people don't talk like this or react like this.
It's clunky. This game is so clunky, and just so everyone knows, I think both of you guys finished it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to play it on my Xbox for a few hours, and then I got just angry at it and said, I couldn't figure out why. And I realized because this game does not handle on a console at all. It should never be played on a console. So then I got it on my PC, played it for a bit more, and I just got bored with it. I gave up because it is incredibly clunky. It's
frustrating. It's a frustrating game.
Infuriatingly so. Like, you can tell that this is obviously a small project and a passion project, and it needs a lot of levels of polish, and much to its detriment, unfortunately.
And so, Conan, you don't know too much about the story, or where'd you get up to? What's going on in that time loop world for you?
So I just figured out that I can zip tie the cop.
Right.
I figured out how to deal with him. I spent a long time not knowing what the hell to do.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, I did have to look up a guide because I couldn't figure it out. And so then I saw it, and I was like, okay, cool, yeah. There's a really bad gameplay thing, but sure, I'll do that. So I zip tied him. I shanked him a couple times. And I think the last thing I've done is I've looked at the phone and I've seen that he has a daughter, I assume, called Bumblebee.
Correct.
And
also
that's
a Transformer.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was communicating with the Autobots.
Just back on like your points about it being awkward. I will say this does feel very much like a traditional point and click adventure, where a lot of it is just moving the mouse around the screen until you find the thing you're allowed to click on, and just trying every possible combination of items together until you find the solution to the next puzzle. Usually it's like obscure and obtuse, and the best ones make that fun and they give you lots of options to do it. And I feel like this one's incredibly linear and like incredibly obtuse in places. Like I got really stuck on trying to get the cop. Like I knew I could drug my girlfriend, which was so much fun to do 100 times. And then every time he goes and zaps himself on the light switch, I'm like, surely I can like sabotage the light switch so he gets zapped and I'll be right. I'll pour water on it. I'll stab it with the knife. None of these things work. On the spoilers, we're going to spoil this game for anyone still listening. you have to flick it off and on first, of course, and then it will zap you. Like it just defies logic.
It's so silly, that leap, because I get it. She says someone could get hurt, but why somebody would think, oh, she didn't get hurt, so the next thing would get hurt?
Yeah.
it boggles my mind.
So
And it was
I'll chime in here. So I think I had a very different like playthrough of this game than most people would have had, where basically in my second loop, I shocked the cop, and murdered him, like straight up in my
right
second
on.
loop. And like with the first loop, I never got to the present. I never saw the present. I didn't sit down for dessert because I silly me. I got the desserts out of the fridge and I was just like, it's time for dessert. And she's like, not now. I'm like, okay. Well,
What?
when like I didn't put it on the table. Like I was like, well, that's what I should probably do. I was just holding onto the desserts. I was like, hey, let's have desserts now. And she's like, no, I don't feel like it. And I was like, okay. Well, I don't know how to get you to feel like it.
If you piss her off before that, yes, you won't have dinner with you.
Yeah. And like I think the whole thing about it being linear is probably the first like 40 minutes of this game, I was like, ooh, this is suspenseful. Like I wonder what's going on. This is interesting. Like the final hour, I was like, what I'm so I hate video games. Like I'm so sick of this. Like you have to do things in the exact order it wants you to.
Yeah.
And then like the amount of time, it's like such trial and error sometimes where you're like, okay, I got to hear this same conversation again.
Yeah.
I got to convince her again that I'm in a time loop. Okay, let's go through all these steps. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I'll get this from the tap. I'll do this. Okay. Now you're out. I'm trying to do things as quickly as possible. One of the ones near the end, I did all that, and I was that much focused on trying to save like a minuscule second that when the cop was coming, like when he gets up to the top of the elevator, you call his daughter. And you like say, hey, your dad's coming here. He's going to hurt us. Call him and tell him to stop, right? And so I'd done that 3 or 4 times, heard the conversation. He comes in, he's a bit more amicable. He'll listen to you and stuff like that. And in this playthrough, before he got up there, I was like, okay, trying to make things as quick as possible. When opened the front door, because I was like, then he doesn't have to knock and do all this. So I opened the front door. He gets up there. His daughter calls him and he's like, hold on. The door's open, and then walks straight in and beats me to death again. And I'm like, no, I have to do it all over again.
I did the exact same thing. And like, they make a big thing like you can skip conversations you've already had. It's fine. But you cannot skip them if you're not a part of it. So you sit there and you listen to him on the phone outside the door every single time. You sit there and listen to him talk to your wife every single time. It's so frustrating. I did the exact same thing. And then there's also a loop where you have to get him to look at the photo on the fridge. I knew he had to look at the photo, so I went and picked up the photo.
Yeah, that's what I did.
But then he's like, the photo's not there. What the hell are you talking about? And he beats me to death. I'm like, motherfucker, I picked this up.
Wait, how did he beat you? When did this happen? How does he beat you to death? Don't you show it to him when he's zip tied?
No. In the final one, you don't zip tie him anymore. Like you have a
don't need to zip
conversation
tie him after a while.
Oh, you unlock a conversation, right? Okay.
And so that's the thing. I had another one like that where I did the whole loop and then something little messed up at the end. Where I was like, okay, I want to show him the onesie, the baby onesie. I want to show him this to show the name. So Conan, we'll get into this. The big twist is your wife didn't actually kill her dad. It was her half brother that her dad had slept with the nanny, which is obviously why the mum went into depression and died and stuff like that. He had a bastard child with the nanny, and who they referred to as monster because that kid ruined the family. And that half brother is the one that came back and killed the dad a week after she'd shot the dad. And
I got to that point in the story where it's like New Year's Eve she did it.
And so that half brother is you.
Yep. So like the name on the onesie is his mum's name, which was also the name of the nanny, right?
Who Willem Dafoe's like, the name of the nanny was like a flower. There was something.
Started with D.
D. So
that's so
so the story is that's your sister that is your wife who's now pregnant.
So you've impregnated your half sister.
Inbred child. Yes.
Well,
and that's the twist of this game.
There is one more twist after that, and that is that the whole game is taking place within therapy, and you aren't. There's not necessarily a cop. She might not even be pregnant. We don't know.
No.
We just know that you're like obsessed with her, and I think the therapist is trying to get you to stop being obsessed with her. So he's hypnotizing you. You're going through the loop to try and work out your issues.
And you can decide to just live in ignorance bliss and just continue going through that loop, or you can live alone and tell her the
Okay.
truth. But the one, I'll just get to it. I went through all this loop over and over again. I had to convince her, hey, by the way, we're in a time loop. I'm your brother. We've been banging. She's just freaked out. It's all going through all this time loop over and over again. And I'm like, okay, I'll show him the onesie. All right. So I'm sitting there. He's talking to my wife's sister, and he's like, the nanny. What was her name again? Blah blah. And I go, okay, into my items, grab the onesie, go to give it to the cop, and I give it to him. And my guy goes, sir, and like walks up to him, and Willem Dafoe walks out of the room because like he'd already finished his conversation. So he walked to the room, was like, I'll find it.
You're too slow.
I'll find it. And my guy was like, sir, and walked up to him, and Willem Dafoe walked out. And then the wife was like, did we fix it? And he's like, yeah, we did. And then like it reset again. I was like, oh man, so frustrating, and was not expecting that twist. But
like I don't mind too much that idea of therapy and thing like this is why you're reliving the loop. That's kind of cool. I don't think
but
the
it's
incest...
not even explained well. I don't think the health therapy thing.
Like you really have to like I had to look it up, like look what other people's theories were, and someone mentioned that, like, oh, okay, that's the one that fits the best, but it's not clear.
I guess
like, the therapy's like with his dad, and like but it's Willem Dafoe's voice. It's obviously he's filling in the role, and I'd never heard the therapy thing before, and that makes a lot of sense that you saying it, and that explains that difference, because like he's talking to his dad about her being pregnant. He's talking about her, like about they've been together, even though he killed his dad 8 years ago or whatever. So it's doesn't make sense timeline wise. Like there's plot holes there if it is. Yeah.
And so the whole game only lets you go up to 10 minutes, and you notice this, and it's like, why the hell is this game called 12 minutes? And the other 2 minutes is the 2 minutes of therapy. But one time when you go back, you're talking to the dad, and then the next time you're talking to the therapist. Which the problem is they're all voiced by Willem Dafoe. It's really confusing, but the therapist has no hair, the dad has hair, so like you could even consider, like I thought it was the same person at first. So I don't know. It's just a mess.
The therapy thing makes sense.
I guess that kind of makes sense with the book she's reading, because I feel you can
that came up in part 2.
That came up a few times.
Yeah. You have to like bring up the book with the therapist, and that's kind of what gets you out of the.
Because that's what she says. Like, it's pretty clear. She's like, I can't remember the words, but it's all about only by forgetting can you move on. I'm like, okay, it's clearly something that you're trying to forget. So I was kind of halfway there with my speculation. Yeah, look, to your earlier points about skipping conversations, I think that's the most egregious crime of this game. A game that plugs its marketing as it has James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
That you pretty quickly are like, okay, I want to fast forward this dialogue. I don't want to listen to anyone talk. I just want to get it done.
Yeah.
They've screwed up. Like, they have completely missed the target with what they're trying to do here. And yeah, there are so many clunky moments. Like the amount of times I tried to just break free and stab the cop because he's looking away from me. I can pull the knife out. I'm like, okay, surely I can get out of this quietly and then get him. And just as I'm doing it, he turns around and just stares at me really creepily. And then as soon as I stand up, he walks over and just punches me. I'm like, that was dumb. Yeah. Other times, like you get your girlfriend to storm out at 2-3 minutes and somehow he still finds her in the elevator. Yeah. I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
There are so many things that this game does that it prevents you from making connections to solve it. It does things that goes, okay, well, there's nothing here then because the logic doesn't add up. But then you realize, no, I do have to do that still. So some things do have continuity and do actually have consistency, but other things don't. And it was very infuriating to me.
I feel like it seems like someone who's trying to be like, oh, this is a really deep and smart story, but it's pretty cliche, I feel like, and it's not done well as a game. Like as a time loop game, it's not fun to play. Like it's
it's not.
So Hideo Kojima said this is like one of his favorite games of all time.
Yeah. Can we stop respecting him?
I'm halfway
I think
there.
It's time.
No,
I think it's time.
Even his damn director's cuts.
It was really sold. Like it was sold to everyone as like, we've got this huge cast. It's this small contained story. Like it's set in one room, like one apartment. That's all you ever get to see. And it's like, this could be really interesting. Like imagine the depth they could build in this one room. But there's like what, 24 items you can interact with.
Yeah.
And like when I first got there, I'm like, oh, I can get the cakes out of the fridge. I've got these sleeping pills. I've got this knife. Like there's all these possibilities, and like 3 combinations work or something like that, and that's it.
Yeah, I was getting Hitman vibes. So I was like, okay, maybe I can poison the cake, and that'll have a different effect to what the water will do. And if I add this in here, maybe I can call 911 and somehow stall things, and the cops can get there in time.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, none of it pays off. It's all just red herrings.
I had this whole thing. I was like, I'm going to give Willem Dafoe a piece of cake, and I'm just going to have sleeping pills in it. It's going to knock him out.
Yeah.
But like legitimately my second loop, I drugged my wife. She passed out. I set the light. I was like, oh, maybe if I turn it back off again, then the next time it'll zap him. That happened. I was like, oh, success. Walked in there, grabbed the gun, didn't even notice the zip ties. No, because actually, no, the first time I just had the kitchen knife. So when he was on the ground, I just walked up and stabbed him and killed him. And then I was like, cool. And then went over and found the vent in the bedroom. And I was like, I'll hide the knife in here for when the cops get here. And then I was legit like, okay, solved. He's
solved it, done.
My wife is saved. And then I stood there waiting. And then it just reset. And I was like, okay, that's not what's going to work. And then like hid in the cupboard and was just like, call the cops. And I pushed in 911. I was like, yeah. I was like, look at this, 15 minutes. I was like, And I just stood there and watched him murder my wife anyway. But then I found out the watch was in the vent and all this sort of stuff. But I was really hyped for this when the trailer first came out a few years ago, because like a cool time loop, mystery thriller, that sounds interesting. But by the end of this, it's just like a frustrating gameplay experience where like, how do I get past this part? Like I need to put all these blocks in the right places for this to instead of figuring out this cool mystery.
The trailer looked really good. I rewatched it when I was downloading because it just plays in the background. And it looked like it's just showing little snippets of different stuff that can happen, and like they can dance, they can go to bed together. And it makes you sort of wonder, okay, cool, maybe different things will actually unfold. It'll be a much bigger character drama, or, you'll witness this myriad of like futures and options for this couple. And I'll get really invested in these two people. But there's nothing, there's no character there. There's no depth. It's really just, you're right, solve this mystery. And the fact that there is one thing you have to do to solve the mystery, and you have to get him to zap that switch. I'm like, well, this is silly that it's that illusion of choice. It's like, hey, you can alter things, you can do whatever you want, but as long as you do these main things, then you've chosen the path. I haven't chosen anything. You've just made it really hard to do the basic thing I have to do.
Yeah, it really, I don't know. You guys, can I talk about a game that does a time loop really well?
Is it Majora's Mask?
Is it Titanfall 2?
No. Well, the Titanfall 2 is really good, but it's not really a time loop.
No, it's one level.
There is so Annapurna Games are the publisher of this game, and they also published a game in 2019 called The Outer Wilds. It's a Groundhog Day style game set in outer space, and it's phenomenal. Like every loop, the thing you're learning is knowledge. Like the thing you're learning is about the universe, and every loop you learn something more about the universe that you can put into play somewhere else in the universe. And by the end of it, like you understand how all these planets interact, and you can like achieve the ending. And like there is one way to do that, sure, but you feel like you're learning about the world as you go along. You're not just stumbling into the right sequence of events.
I've heard a lot of good things about that game.
It's phenomenal, and it does this idea really, really well. It's not a perfectly fun game to play all the time because there's some mechanics that are a bit clunky, but I still highly recommend it.
This game wasn't fun to play. So.
No, it's way more fun to play than this game was.
There's no gameplay in this game.
Before we move on, I didn't notice this. I watched on YouTube after I'd finished it. Did you guys notice like stuff like the paintings and stuff in the apartment changing every loop? There's a painting of 2 trees, and then after you find out about the baby, there's a 3rd tree in the middle. And then once you find out that it's actually your sister that you're doing, then like the trees become withered, and then the baby tree disappears at some point too. And
that's some good metaphor, though. Wow.
Yeah, deep. But I never saw any of the paintings or interacted with them or anything.
I looked at them all, and then nothing came from it. So I was like, well, I'll never look at these again.
And I had the same experience. Yeah.
When you first start, like in the hallway with the shining carpet, one of the paintings on the wall is like cool. A dahlia thing, and then the other one is a bookcase with one red book. But yeah, it's well, there was something I wanted to say as well. Just yeah, I don't know. It's a
Was it how
frustrating game. It's a
was it how
frustrating game.
terrible the apartment is? There's no TV. The kitchen is like a sink and nothing.
That's actually
Oh
who has dessert before dinner?
no, he's already had dinner.
He
You
had
read
dinner
the
on the way home.
you read the
Yeah.
text,
I
yeah.
missed that dialogue, but
But just who lives in an apartment like that? It's awful.
James McAvoy and Daisy Ridley.
I would go mad living there. That would have been a good twist. They're like, this is the most unfeng shui apartment ever, and you've just gone mad.
Could you imagine raising a child in that apartment?
No.
An inbred child. It's got two heads.
Psychic powers.
He's floating the couch again. So the other thing I was just going to talk about. So apparently, probably the best ending that you can accomplish, and I wish is the ending that I did. It only takes 3 minutes to do it. So if you just walk into the apartment and just stand there and don't do anything,
Yeah.
she sits on the couch and she's like, "Hey, how are you? How was your day at work? Come sit on the couch with me." And he sits down and he talks about his day and they have like a conversation for like 2 or 3 minutes. And then she's like, she alludes that she has stuff that she wants to talk about to him in her past. And she's like, "Not here. Let's go out." And then like she leads you out and you just leave the apartment and then the credits come up. So basically the game's main message is you get a good ending if you just listen to your wife and
So if you
ask about her day.
But so this is if you don't
Your sister.
interact. If yeah,
You do
sister.
absolutely nothing. It
Do
basically
nothing.
takes
Like,
over
you can't
control.
even-
Yeah.
You can't even turn the
Yeah.
light switch on. You just walk in and stand there.
Just stand still.
She comes, talks, and then she sits on the couch and you just let her sit on the couch for like a minute. And then she'll call you over on the couch and you have this conversation and you leave. And then the credits roll up and it's called the listen ending.
Oh, kid.
So
Did any of you guys kill her with the knife? Can you kill her?
I
Yeah,
did.
you can. You
I
can.
did on like my 4th loop. I was like, I wonder what this will do. And it's so funny when you like drag the knife to her. James McAvoy was like, "Well, here I go." Like,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
what
it.
that's what
He's
stopped me.
like,
He's like,
I'm really
like,
going to do this.
he's like, no coming back from this. I'm like, I
No
can't
coming
do
back
this,
from
man. I
this.
can't kill this poor.
Yeah, like the first time he's like, "There's no coming back from this," and then he won't do it, and then you click it again, and he will do it.
Yeah,
And I also shot Willem Dafoe in the head, shot her in the head, and then shot myself in the head. Like,
I did that too.
I don't know. I
see
got to
what
get
hap-
out of this time loop somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still didn't work.
That's the other
Um,
thing, kind of crappy thing about that game is like one of the big things you have to do is drug your wife, and it just feels dirty to do that like 50 times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Like,
over
it
and
just
over
never
again.
feels good. Like,
I read a bit
I
about
don't
it.
know.
Like, there's a lot of blowback against this game about exactly that. It's like the whole thing sort of revolves around drugging your wife and violence,
And-
a lot of domestic violence and like violence against her. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of true. It's pretty it kind of goes from 0 to 100. And if the twist is that there's this
And, like-
weird rape baby thing, it's like, this is weird.
He doesn't only drug his wife, he drugs his sister too. It's really messed up.
The wife's one thing, but his sister, no.
Oh,
That's family,
that's
man.
crossing the line.
and his daughter niece.
And
It's
And then- that's the thing.
Oh.
Like at the end of the day, it's not a fun gameplay loop at all.
No.
Have you been playing anything else that has a fun gameplay loop? Segue. Conan.
There's this game called Majora's Mask.
Oh yeah.
Go back to it. Play that. No, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Hades. I played this. Like I played 12 minutes, a couple of hours, and got angry at gaming as a medium, and then said, "Do I really want to do this again? Now I'll play some Hades for a while." And then I gave 12 minutes another go, and then I was like, "No, I'm just going to play Hades again." It's very good. We don't have to talk much about it because Luke, you haven't played it yet.
Not yet. I will be soon.
We will talk about when you've played it though, Luke. Please promise me, because it's my
We
favorite
will.
game of
I
2020.
promise. We will do a Hades episode.
Wow.
I don't know if I've got enough to talk about with that, but
Never mind. We will just
Have
do.
No, hold on. Have you defeated Hades yet?
no, I just got up to him today. And
All right,
what an unbelievable fight.
Wait till you've defeated him and tell
What?
me you don't have enough to talk about, because that's when the story really takes off.
Okay, I was going to say I know that there's more to it here. I know that I feel like I keep sort of almost reaching the end, and I know they've got more, which is a testament to the game, right? That every time I sort of do something, I can feel that the game is smarter than I am. I know it's got so much more for me. I know that there's things here that I haven't even began to scratch, and that's what sort of keeps me coming back. That even though the roguelike gameplay isn't really my thing, there is such depth to this that I'm like, no, this is awesome. I can get behind this 100%.
Well, we'll do a a part of an episode dedicated to Hades, but
Two-thirds.
we all have to dress up as like hot Greek gods and stuff like that. 'Cause that's all I know about this game so far.
And they are hot. Zagreus is
my boy Poseidon. He can make me wet.
Poseidon.
So yeah, so you're really enjoying it. It's living up to the hype, or
It is. Again, I'm not I haven't reached sort of what Grant said. I haven't beat Hades yet, so I haven't seen what everything has got to offer.
yeah.
But I am really enjoying it. It's the gameplay is very tight and it's very fun, and it sort of rewards you for doing it. It keeps you coming back. It's like, well, maybe if I try this combination, or I want to get these things to upgrade that to add to this, and beyond that, just the writing is really fun. All the characters are really interesting. They're all very funny. I want to develop these relationships. The more I love talking to Achilles. He's just like the guy I want to hang out with all the time. He's just so loving, and he's just like, you're my brother.
He's extremely good.
He's just such a great guy.
There's rooms you come across that are just story rooms, and then every time they come up, I'm like, I'm going there. Like, I'm talking to this character because I don't know. Every time you unlock something more with them, and the music. Oh, I love the music in that game. Anyway,
Put a pin in this.
Well, I'm keen. Plot twist: Hades is actually your sister. So,
no, that's not far fetched. Greek gods, man.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
A lot of inbreeding.
A lot of it turning into animals and having sex with humans.
Well, we'll get into it. Griner, we'll start with you.
Do you want to hear about what I've been playing?
Oh yes.
Or do you want to leave it until later?
What else have you been playing? Is it Pokemon?
I've been playing a game on my Switch. You guys have probably heard of it. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Now, can I get real with you? Can I get real with you guys for a second?
Yes.
Please. It's all I've ever wanted from our relationship.
I've been feeling really anxious lately, just with the state of what's going on in Australia. Like, we've got COVID resurging like a mother effer. We've got climate reports coming out saying we're all doomed. I've got a young daughter that I'm trying to raise in this world.
Yep.
The news is making me depressed. Social media is making me depressed. So I just needed a world I could escape to. I've had Breath of the Wild on my list to replay for so long, so I've just gotten into it, and man, it's a good game. It's so good. so good.
Have you just jumped back into your save, or have you restarted a game, or
no? So I started from scratch. They have the DLC released a master mode, which is more difficult. I kind of wish I hadn't done that because it's incredibly difficult. And that's not the fun part of this game. But I'm over the hump. I think I'm to the point where I've got enough gear that I can handle it now. And yeah, I'm like running around, getting all the shrines, climbing all the towers, killing all the things. It's just a joy, that game.
So exploration is fun in that game, because I feel like most of the open world games I've played recently, exploring is more of a chore than anything else.
Exploration is the best part of that game, for sure. Which is why I kind of regret changing the difficulty, because
can you not change it back, or are you?
No, not without starting again. And I'm a fair way through now. Like, the fun part about the combat is the chaos. Like, lots of just random things happen that you don't expect. And when the game's not that hard, it's okay that I lost half my hearts to this random explosion that I didn't see coming. But when like resources are really tight because everything heals you in one shot, it's like, like this metal crate that flew off this explosion that happened around the corner from me that I didn't even know was going on is not okay. Like, it sucks. But anyway, other than that, totally enjoying it. I don't know, just really enjoyed just diving straight back into it, getting all the shrines, collecting all the things.
Look,
it's so good.
Look, we'll talk about Breath of the Wild. So
Like, you're a fan.
Like, yeah. And I mean, I do like Breath of the Wild. Now, obviously, it came out at a weird time, sort of like, it's sort of like the David against the Goliath. Like, Horizon Zero Dawn came out the month before. So it kind of just overshadowed Breath of the Wild in most people's eyes. But like, Breath of the Wild, I will give it, like, it's one of the games I have bought that game 5 times, and then, like, because here's the thing, like, I'll come across a good deal, and obviously Breath of the Wild seems to be more expensive than when it first came out. Like, it holds its value like throughout all of time.
Nintendo.
And so if I ever come across a good deal where it's like $40, $30, I'm like, oh yeah. And I'm always like, every now and again, I'm just like, I could play that again. I'm like, I could just jump back into that world and just explore a bit and run around. And it has a good vibe to that game. And like, I really do like that world and just exploring and seeing what random things I can do that I think would make sense to solve this problem. And whatever you think of, you can basically do. If you can make it work, then it works for you. Like, it doesn't forbid you from doing stuff like that. But yeah, and like I end up selling it again because a month will go by and I haven't played it yet. And I'm like, hey man, I could get $70 for this again. I just sell it. And then 2 months down the line, I'll buy it again. And I'm like, oh, but I haven't sat down and actually gotten into it. But there's something there that draws me to it. And I don't know what it is. Maybe I just need to play
Zelda,
Horizon again and I'll get rid of that urge. But Conan, like we've discussed, you're one of the only Zelda fans I know that hasn't played Breath of the Wild.
Can't afford a Switch.
No, like Switches are expensive, and even since COVID, like the prices went up again on them because everyone was buying Switches.
Just gaming's a mess, right? Everything is more expensive. Everything's in short supply. Yeah.
Is it something like? Have you watched much gameplay on it, or have you like seen it and?
None.
So you don't know too much. See,
I don't watch gameplay of things that I can't have, and I'm like, I know I'm just going to want it.
Tempt yourself.
It seems masochistic to just like, I want this. I'm going to really try and just remind myself that I can't have this right now. I want it so much more.
I'm really sorry I brought it up. Let's move on.
Oh no, that's fine. Like I'm happy to talk about it, but I'm just. It's not like I am sitting here salivating. I do really want to play, but it's a defense mechanism. I'm intentionally not reading anything or looking at gameplay or anything about it for years because I don't want to have.
Because one day you'll be able to play it.
And it'll be like everyone else in 2017 when they played it. I'll be blown away and I'll be like, guys, have you played this game?
Still holds up. I will say that.
What you should do is play Horizon again as well.
I don't think I'll ever play Horizon again, to be honest.
Well, I was going to say, to Breath of the Wild's credit, I have not wanted to play Horizon since I finished it. So it does have that. All right, Grana, your news item or topic for the week?
Got a couple of small ones that just caught my eye. I thought they were interesting. Hopefully you guys will find them interesting too. Have you guys heard of a game called Summer of 58?
No.
It's a very...
It sounds like a typo of a horror film.
It is a horror game. It's a horror game.
A typo of a classic song.
Yeah. It's 11 years off though. It's a very small indie horror game set in Russia, which I'm into. The reason why it's in the news this week is that this game was developed by one guy, as far as I can tell, one guy, and it only takes an hour and a half to beat. So it's a short game. That's okay. Like, we're okay with short games. But a few years ago, Steam updated their refund policy to be more consumer friendly. And what they did is they allow you to refund any game for any reason if you have less than 2 hours playtime. So what this developer is claiming and has like put out a statement basically saying he's retiring from making games is that despite overwhelmingly positive feedback, people are buying his game, playing through it, and then refunding it.
Bunch of pricks.
Sucks.
It feels real dirty, doesn't it?
Oh, I hate that.
So have you played it or no?
I haven't played it. Yeah. It just popped up in the news and I thought it was fascinating. I'm not that into horror games, but apparently this guy like just makes really good indie horror games. They're pretty short, but he has a little, a bit of a fan base going.
Is his name Hassan Karaman?
Maybe no. It's Amika Games. Amika Games is the developer. Since then, he's come out and said that, people are really supporting him now. People are buying it just because of this happening to support him, which is a really good outcome. But I can't help but think there's other developers that have sort of had this issue.
And haven't gone public with it and just been like, oh, that sucks.
They just ate it. Yeah.
So it was getting positive feedback. It's not like it was a bad game and people were cashing out.
Yeah, like you look at the reviews on Steam, even if you discount the last few days where it kind of blew up again because of this attention. It was still, like, by Steam standards, very positive in its ratings. So that means the ratio of positive to negative ratings is quite high.
Yeah.
It seems to have done well. And I think this positive feedback of people buying it now to support him is good. He still said, I still want to take a break. I still am feeling disillusioned by all this, which is a bit sad. But
Yeah.
Of course. As you would.
Yeah. Like I can totally understand being annoyed about that because I imagine even though it's a 1.5 hour game, that's probably hundreds of hours of his life put into this game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you guys ever? Do you guys have any games that you really enjoyed that were like that short?
Like the first one I think of, which is like a perfect 2 to 3 hour experience, is Journey on PS3. Like, have either of you guys played it?
Yeah, I played it at your house.
I've played it too.
Oh, cool. Like, I adore that game. Like just the way you communicate with other players online that you don't even know are other players online. Like they just sort of come into that world when you're connected into the internet. You like, so many people were like, oh, look at this thing. I'm on this journey with this person. And then at the end, like the credits roll and they're like, oh, that was actually 3 people. Or some of them, it's the one person. And they're like, they were with me the whole journey. And like when you get towards the end of the game and like, you know, your companion falls over in the snow and it's like, you're like, no, we've got to keep pushing through. Like it's a wonderful game. And that's something that, like, you know, I bought, I think it was probably $39, $40 when it came out. Would never consider like getting a refund if I'd finished that. You know, like I'd be interested to see how many positive reviews are like, man, this game was great. Got it for free and I loved it. Keep making more, please.
Just 1 hour and 50 minutes is about right. No longer than that, thanks.
Yeah, keep it as that on Steam.
Please keep making these short games. I love them. Conan, what about you?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind for me, there's a game called Emily is Away. Have either of you guys played that?
Oh yes,
I know.
I have.
Played it.
It's it's actually the first game I got when I got this PC set up and going to help me make this PC setup was Emily is Away. This very pixel not graphics intensive game.
No, very very mild. And kind of like what we were talking about, 12 minutes being sort of gimmicky. Emily's Away is very much a gimmick game, but it works really well. It's a very interesting idea, and really short, but I don't know, really profound in my opinion. When I played it, it was one of those games that
nostalgia.
It captured like 5 years of my life. It's like this is. Yeah. I feel like is this game made from my memories? I don't know, but that was super short, and I really loved that. I'm glad it wasn't 12 hours of it.
Yeah, no,
that would have just been too much. Yeah, that would have made me suicidal.
Have you played Emily is Away too?
I've got it installed, but I haven't played it yet.
Okay, cool. Because that hits you with nostalgia as well, man. Like it's a couple of years later, and you're like, all right, now we're in this stage of my teenage years.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, but pretty crappy, but good story in the end. Like it's
it seems to be a good outcome for him.
Positive.
Like I said, there's probably lots of developers that have suffered from this, though. I do hope. I really appreciate the Steam's given us these really good tools. If you have a game that doesn't work or whatever, you can just refund it for any reason. I hope they can work out some way to prevent this kind of abuse, but
yeah, surely it'd be a case-by-case basis,
ratio depending on game length.
Well, without like having someone analyze every refund request, which is what they're trying to get away from because their support is usually terrible that way. Some people have said like, "Oh, put an achievement at the end of the game, and if you achieve that achievement, you can't refund it." But what's to stop someone putting that achievement at the start of the game so that you can never refund their game? Stuff like that.
Ooh.
So everything's open to abuse.
It's
don't be a scumbag.
That's what it comes with. Yeah. It irks me philosophically to be like, even EB Games, he has that sort of 7-day return policy. And like, I've been guilty of it in the past of playing a 5-hour game and returning it the next day.
6 weeks in a row, man. Just get through all of the November releases.
Generally, in my mind, I'm like, look, I played this. I paid $100 for this game. I finished it in a day. I didn't enjoy it. I'm not going to eat that cost. That shouldn't be placed on me.
Yeah.
But then if you play a game that's sort of, I don't know, how much does Summer of 58 cost? Do we know?
It's like $10. Like it's nothing.
There you go. I think it's one of those things, and it comes back to what we talked about last week, or last fortnight. Gamers are kind of entitled, and they think games need to be bigger to be better. And so I want to get 200 hours out of this $100 game. Like, no, that shouldn't be the standard. You shouldn't need to get 150 plus hours to justify a $100 price tag. You can't justify $100 on a 2-hour price tag either. But
you could, like, there has to be some phrase like where quality is better than like the quantity.
No, that's correct.
Or something, you know.
I don't know where that line is. For me, I don't think you could ever have a 2-hour game being worth $100. But maybe there are some games that would be. Maybe it's a 4-hour game. Maybe it's a 10-hour game. I don't know. But if you're paying $10 for a 2-hour game and you enjoyed it, yeah, it's like you shouldn't say, "Cool, that was great."
I
I'm not
want
going
that
to.
$10 back.
Yeah,
I'm not
like
going to support the person who made that. That just seems
that's
criminal.
right. It's like the length of a movie and the price of a movie ticket, but
Hmm.
somehow that's just too much. Like I said, I hope they can come up with a solution to this, because I do think there's a lot of experiences out there that work well at 2 hours. Like, I don't need to spend 10 hours in Gone Home walking around this house. Like, an hour and a half was enough to read all the little bits and pieces, experience the story they wanted to tell, and I was happy with it. Like, I didn't need any more than that. I wouldn't have played it if it was 10 hours long, but
Gone Home.
Yeah.
A great game that's a better point and click adventure game than 12 minutes as well. And a great 2 to 3 hour game.
Yeah. I agree.
What else you
Do you
got?
want my next story now? All right.
Yes.
Boys, did you ever play Simpsons Hit and Run, the classic Xbox 360 game?
And
No,
PS2.
It was original Xbox.
It was original Xbox. Sorry, original Xbox and PS2. That's correct. That's right.
For such a Simpsons fan that I am, I couldn't get into this game.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I really loved this game as a teenager. Like, it, you could tell that whoever made it was really into The Simpsons. Like, there was just so many good references to classic episodes, to classic things that, things we love about The Simpsons. I think they really captured that really well. And I think this game has a bit of a cult following. Luke, did you ever play it?
I never got super into it, but I definitely played it. I don't think it was a game I ever owned, but I knew people who had it, and every time I'd go over, we'd play it, and I'd end up spending, I think one of my nephews had it, and I'd go over and end up spending 2 or 3 hours just cruising around the city. And I know it definitely has this cult following where it seems to be like one of the games people request like a remake or a remaster of the most.
Very vocal.
I mean, so if you could get a 1-to-1 scale like Springfield on a PS5 game or something, that'd be pretty dope.
Problem with cartoon universes is they very rarely stick to physical, mapped very well to physical locations. But anyway, like hugely requested, and apparently in a bit of a limbo now that Disney owns Fox and all sorts of things. But like creators of The Simpsons have come out and said they want it re-released. And even the creators of the original game are really into that. So what happened in the last couple of weeks is there has been a guy, I didn't grab his name, but he has been basically, he recreated the first level of Simpsons Hit and Run in the Unreal Engine. So you can play it on PC. It's updated graphics. And apparently it's like a pretty good one-to-one of what the original game was. In the last week or so, he's taken that down for fear of, legal retribution,
lawsuits,
as happens with all of these fan-made games.
He
made a trailer for it, and one of the creators of the original game commented on it and said, "You've done a really good job of like capturing what we made." So like he's got the support there from people who knew. He took it down, and not like 2 days later, the entire source code for Simpsons Hit and Run was leaked online. So that's like, this is the code you look at to work out how this game works so you can recreate it. Like this is gold for anyone who wants to recreate something that already exists.
Yep.
So I don't know. It really feels like someone out there is really trying to get a fan-made Simpsons Hit and Run game off the ground.
Yeah, it seems it.
This guy's just like, hey, have this. Come back. I'll leak this code on the internet for you.
Yeah. It's just all a bit too convenient, but I'd be there for it. I don't think we'll ever get an official one though.
Or it's Disney that's leaked it to just tempt him into doing that so then they can sue him.
Could you imagine they did all that for a lawsuit? I thought you were going to say could tempt him into making it, and then they can just, they take the code for the new game.
Or be like, hey, we employed that guy to make a game.
Yeah.
No, that's fascinating though. I'm sure, Conan, I'm sure you'd be interested if they did a new one, like remade it.
I'd give it a look, sure. Like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of the original one, but if they remade it, I would definitely pick it up.
Such a Simpsons fan. I'm so surprised.
I know it's like my greatest hypocrisy that every Simpsons fan I know loves that game. I just never got into Simpsons extracurricular stuff. I never collected the figurines. I never enjoyed all the peripherals. I'm just like
comic books or anything like that.
Yeah, didn't care for any of that. I was like, I lived and breathed the show. Like I could quote seasons of that show.
Yeah.
Nothing else I cared much about, but I would totally give this a go if it came out.
I'll always remember like the whole plot of that story was that someone had built these electronic wasps that were flying around town photographing everyone. And Mayor Quimby comes out and makes a statement, and he's like, "I think I speak for everyone when I say, where are the naked pictures?" It's just like, I don't know. I think they captured the spirit of The Simpsons really well, and I hope something happens. I really hope something happens because it's kind of cool what's happened.
Be cool. Like, I feel like Simpsons. Like, I don't know if it's just like our age, but it feels like Simpsons isn't something that still exists. Like, to me, like, when was it like, I don't know, like it's
because The Simpsons still exists, but it's such a different beast to what most people know it as. It's like, it's an entirely different show now. And so that's kind of what people coming into it know. They see Simpsons, they go, yeah, that's up to season 30 or whatever. Oh, it's this weird, unfunny look at what's going on in the world today.
I don't even know like what season I would have pieced out at. Like it was always like the 6 p.m. show on Channel 10 for me. That's just how I watch Simpsons. And like, I swear it would have been in the first 10 seasons probably, like that I can rewatch them all the time. And I know when they came to Disney Plus, I was like, oh, I should watch it and get my kids to watch it, it'd be interesting to have my kids now watch it and see how they react watching this stuff that I watched when I was their age. So
yeah, seasons like 2 or 3 through 10, just excellent television. Chef's kiss.
Hans Moleman, VIP.
What a character. He's 100 years old. Just
like kissing a peanut.
I was about to say that. That's the exact quote I was about to say.
Cowabunga, dudes.
My daughter has a bald patch on the back of her head at the moment, and I keep kissing it. It's like kissing a peanut. Final little thing I had is Fortnite, our favorite game.
Yes.
You guys love Fortnite, right?
Yes.
Game is a cancer.
So I've always hated Fortnite. I've always hated Fortnite because it was originally like this survival building game. And then PUBG, a game that I loved very dearly, came out and was phenomenally popular. And Fortnite's like, we can make a battle royale. They copied PUBG's idea to a T, released it, became more popular, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Like ridiculously massive. And now parents across the world have to contact their banks to get refunds on their credit cards because kids are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on V-Bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, why are those parents giving their credit cards to kids anyway?
The kids steal them, man. The kids steal them.
Learn to parent properly.
Yeah, lots of parents also don't understand how to like lock that stuff behind a password if they want to have it on there.
Exactly. I don't know what's going on.
Anyway, Fortnite's latest rip-off is that they have an imposter mode, which is suspiciously like Among Us.
Very, very it's quite sus.
But how do they get away? I don't get how they get away with this.
Because they're huge, man.
Yeah.
They changed the name to imposter mode, right? Like, how do you trademark
Among Us
like
is still like, it's so popular, but it's still an indie developer, man.
Yeah.
It's not like they're gonna go to court against Epic. Like,
no, I understand that. I feel like they're
seedy.
I don't know, maybe obviously their fans are not us, right? Like their fans are probably a younger generation who don't care that an indie developer's getting squashed by this. They're just like, we can play Among Us in Fortnite now.
That's so cool.
I don't know.
Think of all my YouTube followers.
This was just the thing that made me cranky this week.
Do we like I saw this story. How does it work? Like, is it like honest? No, we don't. Like,
I actually didn't
know.
look into it that much.
I heard it was a pretty blatant ripoff. Like, apparently it's pretty damn similar. Like,
the screenshot I saw is like a Fortnite character, like completing a task in a spaceship, basically.
Yep. Okay.
Which is what you do in Fortnite.
Damn it.
Yeah, I just saw the headline and started sharpening my pitchfork. I didn't really care much else from it.
Yeah, no.
So call me out if I'm wrong, but
fair enough. Yeah. Fortnite's been in the news for a few things.
What else? Luke, do tell.
Oh, well, Grant, do you have anything else? Any other news items?
There's any more news items.
This wasn't one of my news items, but I just can't not bring it up. The Fortnite had a Martin Luther King event in their thing.
So strange.
I've heard both sides of the argument that this could be teaching a lot of kids who would have no clue who Martin Luther King is, and this is their main source of education these days is Fortnite. It's how they know about all these dances that have existed for 50 years. And I guess that makes sense. I don't know how many kids are sitting in that event, like actually taking in like the impact and everything of that man. But yeah, it's in the whatever mode it is where you can't have weapons, obviously, because they know what people are like, and they knew that was not going to be good for anybody.
Would have been in bad taste.
But of course, they didn't remove emotes to start with, so then they should have known even more what people were going to be like and using emotes and stuff like that. And apparently, they removed all emotes, but there was some loophole that some people were able to figure out where the only emote they could use was the whip emoji. Pretty bad oversight. But yeah.
I do appreciate what they're trying to do. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the Assassin's Creed stuff, educational stuff, where you can explore
That's
like
really
Egypt
good.
and stuff like that. Like, I love the idea of educating kids through gaming. Like, I think it's a huge market that's just totally untapped. Like, all the educational games suck. Where are the really good educational games? And like, they are good things out there. Like, I think Minecraft can teach you some really interesting things about like redstone and circuits and stuff like that. Like, there is things you can learn from games.
And creepers.
Yeah.
The oncoming
I don't know. This is just tone deaf and kind of feels dirty.
I think it's just like the tone is wrong. This game is not the kind of game that you can. The culture of this game is of YouTubers jumping on and just like insulting people and trying to do dumb stuff and dancing, like doing dumb dance and being like, "Look how cool and funny I am." It's not an environment to be like, let's slow it down for a minute, kids, and we're going to learn today about Black history,
civil rights.
Yeah, it makes no sense to have it in this environment, because I agree, the gaming as an educational tool is one of the most untapped things we have. It's incredibly valuable, but this is not the way to do it. And to just sort of shoehorn it in, be like, oh, he's a character, and then it's like, what, kids will say, okay, let's Google him and learn about him. No, kids aren't going to do that. You need to actually create an environment to then force them to engage with it. And just having him as a dancing avatar doesn't do anything.
So that's not what it is. It plays.
It's an event. Speech, right? You go in and there's a big screen with his speech playing, and people can just dance in front of the screen, stuff like that, or just gather around and watch it. But like, that's the thing, man. Epic, like with this story and Grindr's last story and a million other stories, are seedy. I don't like them. And this whole lawsuit with Apple has brought out so many interesting nuggets about the gaming world and like the backdoor deals and everything like that. But like, nobody's looking good out of that lawsuit though. Like, Apple looks bad too. But like the way Epic lost me completely in that battle, where they did that whole, like, that original speech, which was like based off that some original thing where they announced that they were going to court with them to basically say that they're oppressed. Like, and it was this like campaign, like Save Fortnite, hashtag Save Fortnite, to get all these kids to defend this multi-billion-dollar company against another multi-billion-dollar company. It's just wrong in every sense of the word.
There are better causes out there.
Yes, kids, don't hashtag Save Fortnite, hashtag Save Your Lives, and hashtag Save the Planet. Don't, like,
hashtag
Fortnite
get vaccinated.
Exactly. So I have a couple of small items to go through for the week. There's a few game announcements. Obviously, we had the Xbox show at Gamescom, and Gamescom Opening Night Live, I believe it was called, with Jeff Keighley hosting. The main two ones I want to get into. First is the Saints Row reboot. So, did you guys watch the trailer, or what's your history and knowledge of the Saints Row series? Conan, I'll start with you.
No, I read some of the articles about just sort of the reception of it and what the general mood around this announced reboot was. I wasn't a fan of Saints Row. It always just felt like a very GTA. Like, just like, at risk of sounding douchey, like a lowbrow GTA ripoff. Yep. I've been like, it's like San Andreas, but without the actual interesting story, and just kind of gangsters are fun. And so I couldn't get into it. And then when each game got sillier and sillier, I was just like, I'm glad I never invested.
Griner, what's your history with Saints Row?
So I think you are missing out a bit there, kind of. Like, you're right, Saints Row 1 and 2 just like directly trying to rip off GTA. Saints Row the Third, though, is genuinely a good game. It's a lot of fun. It does some interesting things with the GTA formula. And like it is silly, right? Like it is silly, but
Very silly.
it's mostly silly in good ways. Like mostly silly in really fun ways.
Like dildos and stuff.
Yeah, like there's massive dildos and
I need more of those in my life.
no, there's just I enjoyed that game. Like it's
Because
got
of the
Keith
dildos,
David in
right?
it. Yeah, because of the dildos, but also Keith David.
Dude, it had in your character creator in Saints Row 3 the option to choose Nolan North, and it actually said Nolan North as your voice, and it was just Nolan North being Nolan North as your character, which was great. But that's the thing. I feel like Saints Row, like the first Saints Row, it never came to PS3, but it was the first next gen at that time, like Xbox 360. It was the first next gen GTA type game. They were the first one on the market, and that was when it was most popular. Is that it was sort of fulfilling that hole that Grand Theft Auto hadn't filled yet. And I remember going to my brother's house who had a 360 and being like, "Oh, Saints Row," and I had fun playing it. And at that time, you could do stuff that you hadn't been able to do in other GTA games, like holding up like a shop owner and stuff like that. And I had fun playing it. I got Saints Row 2 when it came out on PS3, played and finished the campaign, had fun in that. Played a bit of Saints Row 3. I know, like, my sister really enjoys Saints Row, like the whole series. She really gets into it, but they got into superpowers and alien invasions and stuff like that. Like, they really went off the deep end. And with this one, they're coming back to more of that Saints Row 2, Saints Row 1, a bit zany,
more grounded, right?
But much more grounded. A lot of the feedback seems to be about the whole aesthetic of the Saints Row gang. Have you guys seen? I think I sent a screenshot in the group chat. It's Conan, you'd love it. Like, it's like hipster galore. Like, it's like,
I am a hipster.
it's teenagers with like button-up shirts with a bow tie and like big blue glasses. And that's what the Saints Row gang is. Like, it's like Watch Dogs 2. It's
really looks like Watch Dogs. There's even like a helmet with a digital display on it.
Digital emoji on it. It's so Watch Dogs 2, and it just screams like that. And I don't know. I watched that CGI trailer, and it killed any, like, I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. I was just like, the art style's weird. Like, obviously the characters aren't realistic looking. Like, it's sort of like a cartoonish thing, and just, yeah, that emoji helmet sort of got me out straight away, because I was like, I already played all of Watch Dogs 2. I had enough of that. I kind of liked that character in Watch Dogs 2, but still, I don't want to go into another campaign.
I don't think you're alone. I think like over half the receiver base didn't like it. Right? It's YouTube reveals got like either equally split reception or even more negative reception than positive.
It's
like
pretty negative reception.
People aren't excited about this, it seems.
Yeah.
Or at least just the ones who aren't very vocal.
They did release a gameplay video that has been better received since then. But still, I haven't checked that gameplay out because,
Yeah, I don't know. I always felt like Saints Row like kind of ran its course, right? Like, I enjoyed Saints Row the Third. I think I finished that game, and the thing I enjoyed about it wasn't like afraid to make you overpowered. Like, it just gave you whatever you wanted. You had all the best guns, all the biggest bits and pieces, and you just tore other dudes to shreds. And I know they went to like superpowers and stuff after that, and I just feel like going back feels a bit weird.
The thing, from what I've gathered, because the first ones are like they're set in sort of that game in America, and that's kind of a product of that era. And the director of this reboot said it as well. He said they don't want to retread that ground. That is a product of its time. We can't remake that now. It's going to be weird. And so I get what they're trying to do. They're saying, okay, we've got to update this for people now. Everyone's a hipster now, apparently. So, but it just seems weird to try to go back to the formula of a street game. And it's like, but they're not hardened criminals. They're kids. They're preppy kids. Like, it's
they're
a weird
kids with tech, and like that's their gang. But they're going up against hardened criminals.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. That's like, I'm pretty sure they'll kill you.
No amount of drones is going to save you when someone just shoots you in the teeth.
But it's preppy kids who are pulling out rocket-propelled grenades and shooting, like blowing up cars. Like they're acting like hardened criminals, like murdering people in cold blood, and then just like all like dab, like it's like I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Does somebody dab in that trailer?
No, but I'm assuming they do. At some
They'll be flossing everywhere.
Oh, flossing. That's right. That's the cool new one.
Like, yeah, it just seems like a weird thing. Nobody wants to play a game about criminals where you're playing as preppy hipsters, but
yeah,
I guess
I don't.
They're trying to have their cake and eat it too, I feel.
Yeah. A lot of people are calling it Saints Woke. So
it's clever. That's a clever title.
And then the other main one I want to talk about is a little game on Xbox Series X. Forgot the name of it. Weird name. Halo Infinite. So, Conan, have you ever played one of the Halo games before?
No. What's it about?
It's like, I hear it's like Master Chef or something like that.
Oh, that's the one with the plumber, right? The robotic plumber.
Yes, exactly. Voiced by Nolan North. No, so okay, Halo Infinite's obviously Xbox's main flagship draw and main release this year. It finally got a release date this past week, a bit later than everyone expected, December 8th. Now, with this release date, December 8th is basically like, this is the last pit stop of the year that we can possibly get to before we have to delay it again. Like it's completely like, this is our last chance to get it out this year is December 8th. The main thing I want to talk about is the fact that it's not launching with co-op campaign or the Forge mode, which apparently is like the level editor. I don't know too much about Forge mode, but
Forge mode was where you can make levels and custom games and stuff.
Yeah. So it's not launching with that.
Yeah.
And no campaign co-op, which is a big deal to a lot of people.
Really is, yeah.
So what's your thoughts on this? Is it basically signs of like, this isn't going to be a good story? Like, it seems this game keeps getting delayed. This was meant to be a launch title for the Xbox Series X last year. It keeps getting pushed back, and now they're not even launching with two of its most popular modes. Like, I don't know how you can't launch that without co-op campaign. What's your thoughts on this, Grana?
Yeah. I just think they're trying to avoid being Cyberpunk. Like, that's what it really feels like.
Yeah.
Is like, everybody saw what happened with Cyberpunk. Everybody saw the blowback from that. And I do think at the moment there's some goodwill going around if you're willing to say, hey, this game's not ready, we're going to delay it. Like, people have been burned by Cyberpunk.
With COVID, people understand way more.
Yeah, but I do feel like if like the 343 went to Microsoft and said, we need another year, and they're like, no, this game has to come out this year.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it feels like. And they're like, well, this is what we can get done.
Yeah.
It feels, you're right. It feels dirty not to have co-op campaign, especially since like the campaign's in there.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, obviously when I'm not a game developer, I don't know how hard it is to just have two people be able to play that campaign. I don't get like
that feels like a performance problem. Like,
yeah,
when as soon as we add a second player in here, the AI doesn't know what to do, or the game just crawls or something like that, and they just haven't figured it out.
Wait, sorry. So the single player campaign is there, but it's just the co-op that isn't.
It's just you can't play it co-op. It's still launching with campaign, so it's still launching with campaign and multiplayer, just not co-op campaign, which a lot of campaign fans love to do. So.
Well, I feel like Halo is one of the biggest games for that, right? That sort of, not Kickstarter, but really made it mainstream, like playing co-op. I mean, it's just a game that was really at that time of split screen, be it multiplayer or co-op. Like, everybody I knew who played it played co-op with a friend or wanted to play co-op with a friend. It's a big part of the game, I feel. So
it's what I'm nostalgic for. Like, me and my brother playing through Halo 1, like split screen, is how I played that game. Like, that's how I played through that campaign. I feel like it's worrying signs. Like, obviously, they had the big gameplay reveal last year that created the Craig meme of the
Grunt.
Yep, and
good.
And then they went in hiding for a year. Came out recently. It looks better. Like, it looks like it's running better, but it just, I don't know, keeps coming out like there's more stuff going to be missing or more stuff going wrong. But to its credit, people who played the beta loved it. They said like it was a ball to play, and I'm sure the multiplayer will be great. I am keen to play it, but I feel like I know Bungie had its own event like that same day or the day before where they revealed the new expansion for Destiny 2, and the reception to that was like so positive. Like, people loved the look of it, and they were like, "This is awesome." And Bungie were very much like, "Hey, this is like a single player thing." as well. Like you can completely play this expansion. Like this is, if you love Halo, if you love like campaign stories, this is the one to jump into. So I don't know. Bungie's a very good developer, and 343 keeps missing, I feel like.
Yet to prove themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But to the best, hopefully the best. Hopefully Infinite's good. But Conan, any thoughts on that? Like,
I mean, I don't know. I
are
feel
you
like
excited for Infinite at all?
No, not at all. Because I think we talked about this a while ago. I played Guardians and I wasn't into it. And like you say, 343, their fans playing at this franchise. I don't think they've really figured out the DNA of it yet. And so I'm not going to get this day one. I will pick it up like Guardians when it's $20.
Oh, Game Pass.
Or Game Pass.
Or Game Pass. Yeah, sorry.
Pass,
I won't spend, I don't need to spend money on games.
No.
But
digital, baby.
I feel like it's part of a broader problem, just that, at least the way I see it. I don't know if I'm just over exaggerating, but where games are focusing on just the multiplayer element. You know, you had the Call of Duty, what was their online only thing they had?
Blackout and Warzone.
Yeah. So sort of they shift away and say, hey, we're not even going to do a whole game featuring this. We're just going to do this multiplayer. And that is our thing. I feel like this is the first step on that path where Halo ceases to create campaigns altogether. And it says we have Halo Infinite, and that's kind of our living game as a service. And then every now and then we might throw in a 5-hour campaign if there's a reason for it.
Would you guys be keen for a Halo Battle Royale?
Yes.
I don't know. Not everything needs to have a Battle Royale mode. I think Battle Royales are on the way out. I say that with like some of the biggest games in the world being Battle Royales at the moment, but I'm just, I've been playing them since PUBG. Like I've played them probably more than either of you guys put together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a bit
burnt out on them.
Yeah, I think so.
And I played 2 games of Apex. Don't talk down to me.
So did I. I played 2.
And it sucked.
Apex is amazing.
No, it sucks.
My last news item that we kind of just segued into. This is just a small topic. I just want to bring it up. So there's recently been like sort of like a similar to what Grant was saying earlier, like a source code leak, or some people have been able to discover like assets used in the game's code or whatever, technical jargon, matrix, whatever, you know, for The Last of Us Part 2, that is like a big map that's sort of like connecting a bunch of maps from the main game into one map. And there's like items, like there's unused like items that weren't in the game, you know, like I forget what it is, but like stuff that would make sense in a battle royale game. Like there's still assets in that code for that item that you would pick up. And so it seems to be like the long rumored Last of Us Part 2 battle royale mode. That I know Neil Druckmann was a diehard PUBG fan. Like when PUBG was first popular, like every day he was tweeting like winner chicken dinner. He was winning a game like every day, and people would be like, finish making Last of Us 2, stop playing PUBG. And
entitled gamers, can't people have a social life?
Exactly. So it's long rumored. Obviously, Factions is a popular part of Last of Us 1. Didn't come out with Last of Us 2. It's going to be a standalone release on PS5. I think it's likely that it'll be a battle royale. How do you guys feel about a Last of Us battle royale? I feel like it'd be the most PUBG of any of the other battle royale clones. Like Last of Us's gameplay, and obviously there's already crafting, there's already like all that sort of stuff and scavenging and all that in Last of Us. How do you feel about battle royale entering the Last of Us world, Conan?
Look, all right, hand on my heart, I haven't really played much Battle Royale. That 2 games of Apex I played, it was actually 1 game of Apex I played.
You liar!
So,
and you already decided you hate it.
Yeah, because it sucks. Anyway, I'm not a huge fan of that game type, I guess. Like,
so you never played PUBG?
No, never played PUBG. I think I played one small game of Fortnite once with somebody. Maybe I've just watched it. I don't know. And I think I've played a bit of the Call of Duty one at a friend's place. Like, it's all these things that I've seen. Like, I know what they are. I know how they work. I'm not into it really. And I think it's just because I've missed the train. I've never got into them. I've never been in a game. Like, I've never been playing one of the games that has that mode really. And so even if Halo made one, I wouldn't be a huge fan. I don't think I'd be that big a fan if Last of Us made one.
Yeah. Griner?
Yeah, like you say, Last of Us already has scavenging and stuff. But you're not going to jump out of a plane in The Last of Us. Like,
No.
how are you going to spawn in different areas of the map? Is everyone just going to spawn and then they run and find stuff? Or like, I don't know how the mechanics would work unless it's a very loose battle royale in that you scavenge your weapons and that's about it.
I can definitely see the circle being spores or something.
Yeah,
Closing in, or
you could see that
there's
something
easy
coming into.
things that you could draw it into, but I like battle royales. Like, I'm not much of an online game player, but I remember when I first got this PC trying to play PUBG, I played it for about 10 hours. This is going to be a really embarrassing story, but like, I'm really not good with mouse and keyboard playing. And I remember my first time playing PUBG using the mouse and literally turning my mouse around in a 360-degree angle to try and face out of the room so I can walk back out of the room that I just walked into. And I was like, this is stupid, as I was turning the mouse around to face me, being like,
why do people play PC?
Yeah, it's the control scheme stupid. You're right.
So
that's the stupid thing in that situation.
So yeah, but I like the feel of playing PUBG was great. Like, I just know, like, the sound effects, the sound design in that game, like hearing shots go off, it was like, oh, duck. Like, it felt tense. And I put maybe 12 or 15 hours into Warzone as well. And I really enjoyed playing that. Had like a lot of, fun stories with friends playing that. I think out of all multiplayer modes, Battle Royale is the one I can get into the most. Because I feel like I can just like hide and just like last till the end of the game and feel like I accomplished,
You rat.
That's my story with like battle royale games. But I'd be keen. I don't know if it specifically suits the world of Last of Us, but it kind of does. Every last man standing, but golf clubs.
Yeah, like I think it could be like some form of battle royale. It just wouldn't be the traditional, like, everybody starts in the plane and you drop down and pick where you like. That doesn't make any sense in the world of Last of Us, I don't think.
No, exactly. Conan, what have you brought us this week?
Well, Naughty Dog's apparently been super busy, haven't they?
What's this?
All these newly revealed source codes and whatnot.
Yes.
And then we find out that both execs are radically opposed to game unions. What's the deal, Luke?
Well, I mean, I don't work at Naughty Dog. I don't know too much about this story.
You're part of their PR team. You sound like you're part of their PR team.
Unofficially, not paid.
So explain the story. What's going on?
All right. So basically, a few days ago, an article came out where basically stating, this is from the GameSpot article, the Naughty Dog XX push back against unionizations. I can't spell, and because they say that they may not solve crunch, basically. So game unionization has been a bit of a hot topic, I feel, in the past years, coming off the back mostly off game crunching, which seems to be, it's always been a thing, but seems to be getting more attention or being more prevalent. I don't know. And so, that's obviously a topic of concern for lots of AAA companies. I think it's mainly after like the Red Dead 2 one and Cyberpunk. People were really like, yeah, this is a problem. We shouldn't have this. So basically, in this interview, Evan Wells and Neil Druckmann, the co-presidents of Naughty Dog, quote, expressed their skepticism that unions would solve crunch, with Wells stating that, quote, employees being told they couldn't work more than 40 hours a week would frustrate people to no end. There are people who really want to put in that extra polish on their own volition, and they would feel handcuffed.
Makes sense to me.
Now,
that sounds good.
Now, to his credit, Cuckman said, quote, when you try to have
stand for this hate.
When you try to have a silver bullet, like one solution, you're always leaving someone behind. That's why we feel like we need multiple solutions. We have to approach this from multiple angles, end quote. Now, he seems a little bit like he's on the right track. He's not opposed to unionization out of any sort of cruel, greedy Scrooge McDuck boss position. He's coming at it from more saying, look, it's a nuanced issue. You can't just say this is what we do. And like, speaking of multiplayer titles coming out, they're on a real hiring high at the moment. They're really bringing as many people as they can for this new title, which suggests that maybe they want to avoid having crunch again. I don't know. I feel like unions are such a dirty word in games for some reason. People just don't want to do them, or they just don't have a history. Do you guys talk to me about them?
Like, this is the thing. I don't know too much about unions or anything like that. I know it's like the hot topic in the gaming journalism world is to call out these people that are crunching and like we need unionization in games. I'm not smart enough to talk about it in full detail and know about it. People who are smarter than me, it's not as cut and dry as there needs to be unions and it'll solve the world's problems. It doesn't work for everybody. And like I can see, like Druckmann sees it from both sides. And it makes sense. Like I know Naughty Dog has a reputation for being a crunchy studio, you know, like it crunches pretty bad apparently, you know.
It's like Cap and Crunch, yeah.
They
Crunch.
also release very high quality premium games, you know, they're like one of the top tier developers in the world. And obviously, I don't know, people like to come out and be like, Hades was crunch free, blah, blah, blah. You know, like it's a lot deeper and it's not as cut and dry as like union good, crunch bad. You know, like a lot of games we get aren't the quality that they get made, or like people get death threats when they delay games. Like this is the crappy world we live in, you know, and people should not be forced to work overtime. People should be allowed to work overtime if they want to. It's as simple as that. They should get paid for overtime. Obviously, it's not as simple as that. And it's a much more nuanced issue than just we need to bring in a union.
I think it is. I feel it's nearly as simple as that, though. Like people should be paid fairly for their time, and they should be allowed to work the time they're contracted to work. So if their contract is 40 hours a week, they shouldn't be forced to work 80 hours a week because somebody higher up than them said this game has to be out next week.
Mm.
The reason they feel they need a union is because a union collects the power of the people and gives them a voice behind one entity. And the problem that the US has is that I think their labor laws are kind of built around the fact that people can unionize, right?
Yeah.
Like we live in Australia. We have pretty strong labor laws. I feel like the union movement in Australia is pretty small. Like there's not a heap.
Yeah,
There is in some industries. In some industries, there's a lot of it, but not like it's not across the board. Not every industry is part of a union.
Yeah, it's like you say. We have many more restrictions and laws in place so everyone's got basic rights. Whereas in America, it was much more of that. The worker has no rights.
Yeah.
So whoever wants to sacrifice 18 hours a day benefits, and unions were more relevant in that country.
But guess what Australia doesn't have anymore?
Video games.
Any big video game developers.
Yeah.
Because they cannot afford to produce the games they want to produce under Australia's labour laws.
Yep.
So where's the problem though, Luke? These companies are making billions of dollars on video games, but they can't afford to pay workers a fair wage?
They can.
But why don't they?
I don't know if they don't. Like, I don't know. A lot of people that work at Naughty Dog love working at Naughty Dog. Like, they've got a big team and they're proud to work there. And, like, you know, obviously there's always the ex-employees who are bitter and, like, not bitter as in they're bad or they've done something wrong, but, like, it's always, like, ex-employees who are like, yeah, there's a bad culture there.
That's why they don't work there anymore, because they don't want to work under that culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like there is a thing where it's again, I don't know if it's too simple, but workplace cultures are a different question again. Like you hear about all the time in corporate workplaces where no one goes home before the boss goes home. And so if this high-paid boss, works 12 hours because he's a workaholic with a bizarre personality and no family life, it's expected that the subordinates and the underlings shouldn't leave before him because that shows that they're not keen to climb the ranks and commit to the company.
Yeah.
And that's not actually, they're only contracted to work 38.5 hours a week or whatever. But the culture is like, hey, if you show that you're not willing to sacrifice, you won't succeed here and you'll be the first to get let go. And so that's kind of a tricky problem because, hey, it's actually, no one's telling you to stay here. In fact, we don't want you to stay here. But it's an unspoken rule that you have to work way too much. And I've seen that in some jobs I've worked in where, you're expected to put in an extra 10 unpaid hours just because. And that is the great thing about unions, that unions can actually come in and say, no, cultures like this can be volatile, like are bad. the danger is that unions can also themselves become corrupt or can be ineffective or can slow things down and can cause. It's that great dichotomy of you put more red tape in and you put more restrictions in and innovation maybe innovation goes out the window and maybe you can't afford to have these AAA industries because we're making sure everybody gets paid too much.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I don't know, is it worth having The Last of Us 2, but having someone who has, has severe issues. They've suffered really bad. Maybe they've divorced because they were working too much. Maybe they've suffered like a bit of an emotional breakdown because they've been giving 14-hour days. Like, these are real concerns, and I don't know if it's worth it.
Yes, it is.
We should you got to break some eggs to make that on.
Last of Us 2 is a masterpiece.
At any cost, Luke's okay with The Last of Us 2.
Empires are built on bones.
Exactly, man. And yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. It's a complicated topic. It's not.
No, I think we can solve it here tonight.
Okay, let's get into
3 Australians can solve the American union.
That's the thing. I don't know anything about unions. I've never been involved with them. I'd never really heard that they were a thing here in Australia until I worked in like an abattoir, and people were like, "Oh, like who's your union rep?" And I was like, "What's going on? I don't know." Like, and they're like, "Oh, you need one. You definitely need one working here." And every other workplace I've ever been in has never mentioned like a union or anything like that.
Yeah.
The rights is different here.
They're a lot smaller in Australia in most industries, particularly retail industries.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Obviously, like, yeah, there isn't many Australian game development studios anymore, probably because of that, like that rule. And like you said, Conan, more red tape, more games not being released, more complications. And eventually, like people like Druckmann, if game development becomes like this, he's like, well, you know what? I'll just keep making HBO shows. Like,
I mean, I'm cool with that.
These creative heads, I don't know.
The thing is, if you look at the TV and film industry, that is an industry that is heavily unionized. Like the screen actors, like there's lots of people who have fought for years and years to get rights in those industries to make sure actors aren't dying on set. Like, there's literally a huge history of that, and we still have a multi-billion-dollar industry that is still profitable. Is it perfect? Probably not, but I feel like it's doing a lot better than the games industry is at the moment in how it treats its workers.
That's the other question I had. Do you think this is the main reason why video games struggle with crunch so much? Because it seems to be a specific issue with them. Like, movies don't undergo crunch time. I know music doesn't undergo crunch. Like, it's not really any other medium that seems to struggle with it.
Is it poor management? Like,
yeah.
The thing is, like, software development is really difficult. And if you're releasing the next version of Excel, like nobody's like, did you hear the next version of Excel is releasing on December 8th? I can't freaking wait. If they delay Excel, I'm going to send Bill Gates a death threat. Like, that doesn't happen. It comes out when it comes out. I feel like they get given release dates, sure, but I could not tell you a single one, and I'm like heavily involved in that industry. And
in Excel releases. That's
the thing. Like, movies will be like, oh, like, you know, Marvel movies, like it's, oh, May 2023. And it's like, okay, cool. You know, it's like Black Widow got delayed like 8 times in the last year.
I mean,
it didn't seem like a big of a deal as like a game being delayed. Like, that's
a bit of a different thing. COVID
that was
delays
COVID, though.
They were
Okay, yeah, I get that. But like, you know, it's not that thing. Like, when you see a trailer for a movie and they announce a release date, that's because that movie's basically ready and they're like, it's coming out then. But then you have game developers showing a trailer for a game that doesn't exist yet. Like, they're like, hey, we're making this game very early. We can't even actually show you anything because it doesn't exist yet. Like, they're not even in pre-production. It's just a teaser. It's a logo. And then they're like, next year on December. Like, in December, it's like they put themselves under this pressure. And that's why so many people are avoiding announcing release dates now until it's 6 months out and they're more confident in it, you know? But
I think that's the right way to do it, though. Like,
you
talk about Hades, but guess how long their lead time was between announcement and release?
How long?
Seconds. Like, they announced it and it was available from the Epic Game Store. It was available before
the
announcement by minutes.
Hades is different. You can't do Last of Us like that. You can't, like, with marketing and
that's
like the amount of money that goes into Last of Us. You can't be like, it's out now.
But imagine if they announced it 6 months. So the Last of Us 2 comes out in 6 months. The team working on it is just polishing now. Like anything they're doing in the next 6 months is gravy. The game's there, everything's done. It's gravy. Like we would have so much more polished games. But the problem is, like, I don't think it's profitable. Like you can't have 10 years between each game. It just doesn't work.
No. And I think investors are like, well, if it's ready to go, why can't it go now?
Exactly.
And,
it's all about shareholders. It's all about like needing to hit this fiscal year, like it needs to come out by this date for us to clear that.
I guess part of the issue with the fact that they're not unionized as well is that, like you say, Luke, is it just mismanagement on the top? I think that is part of the issue, right? Is that people up high, as we saw at the Activision Blizzard scandal, these higher ups are a bit more douchey. They've got cultures more of like celebration and being evil. And so what that sort of does is essentially, they can put the work on the lower downs and be like, well, look, they're going to work harder. We're just going to drive them into the ground. We don't have to because we're better than them. Whereas with a union, generally they can't do that as much. So there couldn't be theoretically it's a control against mismanagement as well, because you can't just have, the CEO and all these people just off playing golf. They've actually got to do something a bit more because they are accountable to the workers more than they would be without one.
I don't want Hassan Karaman to be crunching anymore. That poor guy.
He's
been trying to release the trailer on that app for 6 months.
It's out, man.
I know. It took 3 days after he posted that teaser on Twitter that it was live on the app, and that app is 6 gigabytes.
Hashtag save Hassan.
It's a bloody good app. My only other question on this was, is Neil Druckmann evil? But I think we can all agree, yes, he is. Okay. Dr. Uckman, what a man. Okay, moving on. My other article or topic was just this morning it broke, actually, that China has declared that they'll be limiting the amount of time that underage gamers can play online games. So the
dark digital future again.
My bread and butter, man. So the proposed restrictions are that they'll be on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays and public holidays. They can play for 1 hour between 8 and 9 p.m. This was previously 3 hours on holidays and 1.5 on other days. Now, companies, so this is quoting from an ABC article. On this quote, companies will be forced to ensure that they have put real name verification systems in place, which I don't know how exactly that's going to look, but
So that already exists with a Chinese ID, basically.
Okay. So how does it work? How is this being tracked?
So when you sign up to play Dota, you have to put in a real identification number. That's to your identification number, and then they can track how long you've played and what age you are and whether you're allowed to play. The thing that I read is basically the current laws are incredibly ineffective because nobody uses their real ID. And companies don't care enough to chase it. So you can Google Chinese ID or whatever it's called, get a number, throw that into Dota,
and it just works.
Play 24 hours a day.
Yeah. So that's so leading on from that. So this is all said to be part of China's move against combat the growing issue of both gaming addiction, but also their crackdown on China's own tech giants, including titans like the Alibaba Group and Tencent Holdings, who made Genshin Impact.
Tencent that's a big topic to discuss another day.
They're the fingers in a lot of pies.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll come back to that. So so basically the Chinese government is moving against a lot of these giant institutions that have actually made China such a powerful country over the past sort of 10, 20 years. So it just seems like the government's implementing all the control over these guys. And obviously this came recently, there was a crackdown on cryptos where they prevented their banks from processing Bitcoin payments. So it seems very much like the CDCP is trying to sort of regain control over these things that haven't really been kept in check. But
like, just so I'm clear. So if someone has a PS4 with a physical copy of a game, how's that tracked that they can put that disc in?
It's only online multiplayer.
Yeah.
Okay. So they can play other games, but it's like online computer games.
If you're playing Dota,
restricted.
You can't be playing Dota for those.
If you're playing The Last of Us Battle Royale, you can only play that for an hour on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
The real victims, yeah. Yeah. Now, there seems to be two perspectives on this. One is that China is just trying to exert that control. Another is that China is actually being quite altruistic and they're trying to fix social problems by, by. Hey, don't laugh, all right? They could be listening.
Yeah.
By sorting out
I'm
gaming,
sure.
by sorting out gaming addiction.
There'll be a new host next time.
Very, very good, very good host.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know. What do you guys make of this? Do you think that the government should be able to intervene in this sort of stuff?
I think there's a lot of stuff they should be intervening in before focusing on this.
I think that's the truth.
Like, there's bigger fish to fry, and I don't think it's as goodwill as like a PR team would like it to look. I don't know about the whole situation with China, but it's all about control, I feel like. And I don't know, like it's that dark digital future that you're always talking about, Conan. Like
I can bring everything back to it. Yeah.
It always comes back to it. Like it's just, yeah. I don't like what. Yeah, play offline, play single player games, man. Play as many games as you want, kids.
That's the part of this that is interesting though. By targeting online multiplayer games, they are specifically targeting those addictive games, right? Like people don't get addictive to The Last of Us single player. Like people are addicted to playing League of Legends till 2 a.m. or Genshin Impact or whatever their drug is. But
then put a ban on loot boxes in your country.
Yeah.
Say you can't buy loot boxes. Like you can't, because that's the addictive problem, isn't it? Or is it just the playing of it?
No, it's more the play. It's as much the playing of it, I think. Yeah. But it is interesting to see China try to control the internet. Like they have their Great Firewall of China. Yeah. They have all these things in place. Where in the West, the internet still kind of feels like the Wild West. Like you can go on the internet and buy illegal things.
Anything, yeah.
It's not that difficult. You can Google how to do it and you will find how to do it and you can do it. Like,
yeah,
it's one of those last things that's not been regulated right down to, the T. But that's probably changing too.
Yeah, it's a coming.
It's just, yeah, and it's interesting because I can't remember his name, but the CEO of Alibaba, a little while ago,
Jackie Mao,
because he came out and was very critical of the CCP. Their share prices plummeted because China came out swinging, was like, this guy's bad. And so it seems in a lot of ways like this is a direct response to that, where these huge untech companies are talking bad. And so the government's just sort of said, oh, we have to stop these horrible, unchecked titans of growth. It's like, you had no issue before. And then all of a sudden it's there. They need to be, they need to be put in line. So I don't know. It also raises questions about esports future. So I think that this will reduce the amount of time people can put into practicing and stuff. Yeah. It's just interesting to see what will happen to that. Like, will China lose players in that sense?
Yeah. The two big groups that I saw a bit up in arms about this were the League of Legends and Dota community because, Chinese pro teams make up big parts of their leagues and their competitions. And if, where do those players come from if they're not spending 24 hours a day in an internet cafe?
Exactly. So yeah, I'm curious to see what happens there. Will the government will they move make some law where they can sort of, as an Olympian or as an athlete, you're allowed to do that?
But how do you become that athlete by playing 3 hours a week? It doesn't happen.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's something you register for. Do you have state-controlled camps you get sent to do it? I don't know.
So, Griner, is this something you would have liked when you were playing Dota 2 to be restricted?
The government to control how much I can play.
An hour or two would have made a significant impact on your life if you could only play an hour of Dota 2 a day.
I would have been playing other games a lot more, sure. I guess the other thing I was going to say is that I do think we are looking at a future where not only China has issues with kids being addicted to games. Like I've felt it in my life at times, as much as I don't want to admit it, like the draw of wanting to play video games over doing a lot of other things can be strong sometimes. And I think kids can suffer.
Yeah. And video game addiction 100%. Is a real thing. Like it's not something, unfortunately, it's still culturally seen at least in the West, is still culturally seen as a non-issue or as kind of like a joke. It's like, haha, you get addicted to video games because you're a nerd or you're a loser. It's like, no, it is a real issue, like any sort of addiction.
Like, look up people chucking tantrums because they can't log into WoW because their parents like changed the password or whatever. Like, you can't tell me there's nothing wrong with that kid. Like,
it's a powerful force. Like, look, I'm 29 years old, and I've got a young son who plays the PS5, every day sometimes, but like every week, he likes playing Crash Bandicoot and Ratchet and Clank and these sort of games, and they're all single player games. Obviously, he doesn't play anything online, but I sound like my parents, and I never thought I would be this person. But I have to ban him from games sometimes because I see his attitude change when he plays games too much, and he doesn't want to do his schoolwork. He doesn't want to do this because he's just addicted to playing it. He acts a bit differently when he's focused on playing this game and he's pulled away from it. It has that. It's a dopamine hit. It's an addiction. Like, games are addictive. Like, there's no doubt about that. Especially like, the kids who play online. I think it's a whole different thing because, like, single player games, you finish it and you accomplish that, or you're paying attention to the story. This online, like, one more game. Okay, I want to win. It's that, like, it's like gambling. It's that, like, thing that hit, like, people like, I need to win. Oh, I lost that game. Okay, one more game. Let's go again. Let's go again. Let's go again. And that's where the addiction can really progress and take over. And it can be bad. And, it's like, but is that the government's choice to get involved, or should that be the parents' choice? Like, I don't know. Like, how can you have a parent not be able to say that their kid can play a game for 2 hours on Friday night instead of 1 hour?
The thing I would prefer to see is the government give parents tools, give them education on what they can do to help kids. That's where the government should be doing these things. Like, make parents aware that this can be a problem, give them tools to help their kids find other things that they can put their time into and develop healthier habits around playing games. Like, that's what the government should be doing.
Yeah, it seems trite to say, but it's like education is the best tool. And in a lot of those Asian countries, alienation is a really big thing amongst the youth. And so that's why sort of video games become such a huge sort of crutch for them. And so you're right, like, putting in other ways to help that. Strategies, I don't know, programs that can help them sort of, I don't know, get out of the house or whatever. I don't know. But you're right, something rather than the government.
It's not allowed anymore.
It's complicated.
Wow.
Like,
China solved
COVID's
COVID.
around.
They solved COVID.
But COVID is around, though. Like, there's lockdowns and, like,
oh yeah, right. And like,
people aren't allowed to go outside or go to school. They're doing stuff from home.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
kind of like, you're gonna ask for trouble for banning people to play games online. They're gonna, like, that's an outlet for a lot of people. Like, to it helps people with depression. It helps people with anxiety. It's like, I don't know. It's a very sticky situation.
It is, but I mean, COVID is not going to be forever. Like, I think this is looking at more. Sorry, let me.
I don't know. Have you seen our premiere?
If it's around forever, it'll be a flu type thing. It's not going to be lockdowns for the rest of our life.
It'll become endemic, yes.
So it's going to be. This is looking to solve that issue, not look. We're in an exception rather than the rule. So, yeah, you're right. It's a weird time to introduce it, which is, again, raises questions as to why they're actually doing this. But I don't know. I thought that was quite nightmarish.
It was interesting. I saw that. Yeah, a few communities flare up about that.
Ancient Impact. What a game.
Conan, what else have you brought us?
No, that's it. Sorry. I saw lots of Cyberpunk's update brought in equally as many bugs as it solved, which was funny.
I just wanted to say, because I knew you were going to shit on Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk recently hired one of the bigger mod developers who developed a lot of mods for Witcher 3 and was working on a lot of mods for Cyberpunk as well. They hired him. I think that's a good news story.
That is a good news story. Let's see how it plays out. What's your, like, experience with Cyberpunk? Grant, I'll start with you.
I played like 7 or 8 hours of it. Found it incredibly buggy and not that fun to play. I'm kind of interested in going back to it, but like, if the story stuff was really good, I would have stuck with it, but I just didn't think it was that interesting.
Yeah. Conan?
Yeah, I played about an hour. I played on past gen, so it was a frigging mess. Like it was just buggy,
Yep.
clunky, terrible. And you're right. I think if I'd gotten into it, and I was like, this is really compelling storytelling. The dialogue's great. The world seems organic or anything, but it just seemed like the most boring world, most boring take on it, and all the dialogue was awful. The story seemed bland, and it was like 12 minutes. It was just a slog to do anything. I'm like, I'm not playing this.
Like that's the thing. I was hyped on the game. I was very hyped on it
Oh,
for a very long time.
So was I.
I feel like a jackass sitting here in my cyberpunk chair, and I played the game for 6 hours and got my refund on PlayStation. I didn't experience many bugs. The reason I got the refund and the reason I stopped playing it was I saw what it could look like and what it could run like on high-end PCs, and the promise of like an official PS5 version that would run better, 4K, blah, blah, blah. And like what was there wasn't interesting me enough after my first 6 hours to have me keep playing it. I jumped ship to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I was like, I'll be back when the PS5 version's out, which it's still not.
2024.
And I honestly don't know if I will jump back in once that happens. But that game had such promise, and I was very hyped on it. Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. So,
see, I came to Witcher late when they'd already fixed the bugs. So,
yeah.
Same.
I was fine with that. So, yeah, if they end up getting to a point where it's like Cyberpunk is actually complete, I will go back to it then, but not a moment before.
Well, that's all for this week. This episode was actually brought to you by the new story from our very own Mr. Clark, The Taste of Iron, which is a new story by C.V. Clark, which is now available on Kindle to download and read. If you loved hearing him talk, you will love reading his stories.
The audiobook is coming soon.
Audiobook is coming soon. You get to pick the voice actor. No, you don't. But it'll be Conan, hopefully. I will listen to that all night long.
I can't afford anyone else.
And if you loved hearing us talk about games, you'll love listening to us argue over which film in a movie trilogy was the worst of the series on our other podcast, The Good, the Bad, and the Worst, where every fortnight we sit down, we discuss a movie trilogy, we discuss which one was the worst, what happened, why it was bad, and yeah, our next one's Godfather, and our last one was the Dark Knight trilogy, which is, like I said before, the lesser known Nolan trilogy. Thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe. Share with your friends. Tell your mum. Tell your dad. Tell everyone. You can follow us on social media, on all social media platforms at Good Bad. No, that's my other one. Never mind. At Bonus XP Podcast. And thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Pop. I can't just steal that catchphrase.
Oh, that's trademarks.